challenges around the world really in a more real way than any generation before us, in a sense, and feeling like we had a duty and an opportunity to do something to address the challenges we saw. Of course, with global health and poverty being chief among them for many of us. And out of that generational moment, the idea of GlobeMed really was born. That young people, we really could step up and do something. And we could build a model that harnessed our energies. And I spoke a little bit about how we were part of a much broader movement for global health equity, even the last week, of peer organizations, governments, business, private citizens, all getting involved, it seemed, over the past few years, really over the past decade, around this critical work. And so that's sort of what I had a chance to share last year. But what I think would be really good to do is to dig deeper into the story around GlobeMed itself and sort of the origins, how it really came to be, and tell a narrative about that. Hopefully can be instructive for all of us moving forward. Just want to have one disclaimer though, that there's a lot of people that should be telling the story up here with me. So they're missing here tonight. So I want to do the best I can to represent their roles in this organization and sort of the origins, because there's not just a group of students at Northwestern, it's been partner communities that have really informed our views towards the work that we do. It's been chapter leaders that have driven miles to attend events that they didn't even know what it was really about, but they have faith in an idea, they came. And supporters, and so many other people and characters that have made GlobeMed what it is today. And so I'll be probably saying a bunch of names that might not mean a lot to you, but hopefully can keep them in mind. You have the privilege of meeting many of them in the future. And so I want to start, so basically what I'll do is share a little bit about the story, a few reflections that I have from that story itself, and maybe pivot a little bit to talking about the future. And the reason I always, Brian, you've heard me say this quote a bunch of times, we were talking about earlier tonight, and I like to start with this whenever there's storytelling involved. There's a philosopher, Alistair McIntyre, and he says that if you want to answer the question, what am I to do, you must first answer the question, what stories do I find myself a part of? Right? So we can't really figure out what you're to do unless you figure out the stories that you're a part of to begin with. And we're all part of something that we don't know all the pieces to, but it's wonderful in a weekend like this to piece those together and then find our place in that story moving forward. And so I'll start the story on a personal level, coming to Northwestern as a student in 2004. Having been interested in some of these issues, coming into college, I sort of knew I wanted to get involved in an organization that was addressing issues of health and social justice. For me, it was on a personal level, something I've been exposed to growing up because my family is from a rural area in India, and had a chance growing up to spend a lot of time with my grandfather, who's a rural physician to this day, taking care of patients, about 4.5 hours from Calcutta. And so sort of was on a very real thing for me growing up, and so I knew I wanted to get involved. And there was an organization on campus called Global Medical Relief Program. And so Global Medical Relief Program at the time was an organization that's really focused around organizing medical supply shipments to certain partner communities, and really had made their focus, though, around this idea of the Hope Center. It was a center that they were working alongside community leaders in Ghana, and really just building a center from scratch, literally, in a rural part, southeastern part. So I got involved, I went to the activities fair, it seemed really exciting, and so my first job was, Victor, go and raise $100 by selling 10 raffles for a Vespa scooter. So that's what I got involved to do. I sold 10 raffles, raised $100. I couldn't even make the cut nowadays for chapters, but sort of the first thing that I got involved in. And just fast forward 2 years later, had a chance to get a leadership role in the organization, and has started sort of seeing the evolution of this Hope Center project, where students had really mobilized to raise a lot of funds, but we were unsure about what was actually really happening with the partner community we were working with in Ghana. And so I had the privilege, really, of going to Ghana in August of 2006. It's been 5 years. And when I went to Ghana, I had a chance to work alongside a man by the name of Joseph Achano, somebody who's very passionate, very vocal, and he had been the main point person that students had worked alongside for a few years now to try and raise the funds and build this health center. So at the time, I had a chance to try and understand what was happening with the project itself. When I got to the center, it was pretty striking because it was a wonderful structure, completely empty, and nothing happened inside. And the story goes that the group of students that had been involved before myself had actually hired somebody from outside that community on their own volition, not really working in coordination with anybody, including Joseph, to run the center. Because they had an agenda, they had an idea of what they wanted to do, and sort of move on forward. They were sort of frustrated with trying to work hand in hand with people. They wanted to make the decisions. And so that was the story that I was trying to understand and really grapple with as I was having a chance to talk with Joseph quite a bit during the course of that time that I was with him. And so there's a moment at which I finally sort of stopped and asked Joseph, why didn't you say something? Why did you let this happen? How could we have, how could this have been any different? It seems like really wrong what's happened here in this instance. We've got a center that could be serving people, that could be providing a social good for a rural area that was certainly in need of it. And Joseph sort of slammed the car door, stops in his tracks, and says, Victor, after we listen to our donors. So for me, naive 19-year-old kid, that was a pretty sort of halting moment where I had to stop and think as to what was happening in this situation. And I think the realization was that I had a chance to work in other community settings, that there were amazing people and organizations all around the world on a community level really trying to advance the health of their communities in many different ways. And yet, if students, as young people, have with all the potential and energy and passion that seemed like we had, weren't engaging in the right ways, not only were we potentially missing out on an opportunity, we might be actually doing harm in these situations and not really understanding the deeper questions that we need to address in order to really move this work forward more powerfully. And so, with that reflection, of course, we tried to do some things to change the situation in Ghana, but it was a broader reflection that I had a chance to have when I got back to campus right around here, back in the fall of 2006, was that there's all these amazing people that I had a chance to get to know through my first 2 years at Northwestern and just through different organizations. Names that you've heard, people like Peter Luco, people like Rachel Porkowitz, really helped develop our partnership model. People like Divya Malampati, who hear the word Global Health View, she helped develop a lot of that. But these were all people, unfortunately, at the time, that I had a chance to know. They shared a lot of these passions and ideas around how we could work hand in hand with communities to move this work forward, rather than having a me-centered student agenda to try and drive some project forward. None of them were involved in global medical relief program. In fact, our organization really was fledgling at that time in a huge way, and there were very little direction in terms of what we could potentially do. So basically, we decided to start completely over again. We kept, we kept a couple of things, but basically the two main things that we kept was our tax ID number at the time and $400 in our bank account. That's what we had. And we decided that what we would do was start over again in many ways with a new team of people, and we changed our name with the IRS too to shorten it up, and starting to explore what our mission could be going forward. We didn't have an answer, we didn't have anything really figured out, but we had a notion that we wanted to drive at something maybe different than what had come before, and really build a new organization in that context. And so that's sort of the first part of the story, that realization that with Joseph, the idea of, well, after we listen to our donors, realizing that was the way the listening was happening was all in the wrong directions, and it wasn't about mutual exchange like the way it should be. And so we had a chance as a group of students at that time at Northwestern to start imagining, well, there are other students involved at other universities that actually got involved in helping raise some funds for the Hope Center and done a few projects. But how about we try and organize all of them to come to Northwestern to start exploring this idea in March of 2007. So literally